Alright, what is up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode of the Car Take on YouTube. What? Who saw this coming? Not me. Just kidding. I planned it. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different cars today. I want to know your thoughts and opinions, so make sure you tell them in the comments below. Without further ado, let's get started. As you can see, first up, I want to talk about the Ram EV pickup real quick. So, this thing is, I think, pretty cool looking. Of course, this is just a concept image, and we haven't actually seen any shots of it even driving around in camo or wrap. Now, Ram claims that this is going to have a 500-mile range, but they also say there's going to be an extended range model. So, it's not clear yet if the 500-mile range only comes from the extended range, or if 500 miles is going to be the baseline, and extended is going to take it up to somewhere around 600, 700-mile range. This thing is going to be built on the STLA frame. Obviously, Ram is owned by Fiat Chrysler, which just got bought out by Stellantis, so now it's using their global platform for large vehicles. It is a body-on-frame platform. It's going to be dual motor as far as we know, but it could end up being tri-motor, or there could be a tri-motor level trim. Now, as for the styling, like I said, I think it looks pretty cool. I think Ram sort of went a direction sort of in the middle between revolution and evolution, right? When we talk about car design, usually when a new generation of something comes out, it's either an evolution of that car's nameplate and you can see where it came from the previous generation, or it's a revolution. And I think Ram kind of went somewhere in the middle. If you look at the interior here, you can see that it's, this is probably not what the interior of the car is going to look like, but it's futuristic, but not too futuristic. The center screen is now pretty common. The lack of gauges there in the middle is probably not going to be how it actually turns out. I don't think so personally. I'm not sure if we'll actually see this two-spoke wheel. I mean, personally, that steering wheel looks a little too small to hold an airbag, so I think we'll definitely see some changes from this, but it is a very cool rendering. And when you compare it to the other two of the big three American brands, obviously you have the Ford F-150 Lightning and the Chevy Silverado EV. Now, the F-150 Lightning has a 230-mile range standard with 320 miles in the extended. This is currently on sale. It's sold out for 2022, but these are driving around. It's out now. Ford was the first to get their electric pickup out. There is a Pro, which is what they're calling the new base model. It's more of a work-oriented vehicle. That starts around $40,000, and the XLT, which is the next level up, is $13,000 more than that, starting at $52,974. There's no XL, which they have previously had on their F-150 models. I assume that was replaced by the Pro. Then with the Chevy Silverado EV, you can see with the styling there, it sort of looks like a new Avalanche, right? This doesn't really look like Silverado. It kind of looks like Honda Pilot meets Chevy Avalanche. Whereas Ford was a lot more conservative. They didn't really evolve or revolutionize. They just kind of made what the current F-150 is and put, a solid grille on the front, so it's electric. The Chevy Silverado EV has an estimated range of 400 miles. This is also not out, coming in 2024. They say it'll start at $39,900. We'll see if that's true. Obviously, if the F-150 Lightning for 2022 started at around that same price, every year car prices go up with inflation and MSRP just rising in general. So by 2024, I'm a little doubtful of that figure, but Chevy's website does say that is likely to increase, starting at $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, or even $80,000, depending on the trim and options that you get. So as for pricing on the Ram EV, you're probably looking starting between $50,000 and $60,000 to compete with the Ford and the Chevy. Now, while we're talking about Chevy, of course, next I have to talk about the Corvette E-Ray. This thing is based off of the Stingray, so it's going to use that same V8 found in the Stingray, 6.2 liter naturally aspirated. It's also going to use a electric motor up front. So the V8 is going to power the rear wheels only, and the electric motor is going to power the front wheels only. And Chevy has said that they are not connected by anything but software. So there is no mechanical connection between the engine and the electric motor. The result of them is going to be 655 horsepower and 595 pound-feet of torque. So that is 15 horsepower shy of the Z06's 670 horsepower, but it has significantly more torque. The Z06 obviously using a flat plane crank naturally aspirated V8 with a little less displacement only puts out 460 pound-feet of torque. It's more exotic sounding. It's sort of, when it first came out, people were calling the C8 a better Ferrari than Ferrari, and the Z06 kind of made that even more true. Those are numbers you usually see on more exotic Italian cars where the horsepower is significantly higher than the torque, and now we're seeing that in the Z06. Now, the Z06, when you equip it with the Z07 performance package, which, let's be honest, everyone should if you're buying this thing, it weighs in at 3,434 pounds, which in this day and age can be considered a pretty light sports car. Cars that are around 3,300 or lower, I generally consider light nowadays. Obviously, anything that starts with a 2 and is in the 2,000 pound range is very light. So 3,434 is pretty light, especially when you consider that you have 670 horsepower. The E-Ray is only about 340 pounds heavier than that, coming in at 3,774. So, kind of getting more toward that heavier side, but the fact that it's under 4,000 is impressive in my opinion. I'm sure as EVs and hybrids take over, we'll start seeing another paradigm shift where our thinking will change to anything under 4,000 is now considered light. But for now, 3,774 is still a little on the heavier side, but as far as I know, it handles pretty well. Obviously, they haven't let anyone drive it yet, but Chevy's marketing team says that it feels like a sports car, and you can always trust marketing teams, right? So I want to know what you guys think if we can see a ZR1 coming from the C8 generation. I personally think it would be really cool if they paired that Z06 engine with that electric motor to get that torque figure up and put another, whatever it was, 160 horsepower on top of the Z06's 670, which would obviously bring it to an absolutely absurd 830 horsepower. Or if you think they're just going to supercharge the 6.2 liter V8 as they have in the past for the ZR1, or if you think they're going to supercharge the 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8 from the Z06. I think that would also be really cool. I'm excited to see what happens if there is a ZR1. I'm sure they're going to hit it out of the park. Now, switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about the Mazda CX-90. So this is a new SUV that Mazda says it wants to replace the CX-9 with. So this is a full-size 3-row SUV. And what's interesting about this, because normally, other than it's an SUV, it's not very special. But what's interesting about it is not only will it come as a plug-in hybrid, it will also have Mazda's first ever inline-6 engine. They say it's going to measure in at 3.3 liters of displacement and produce 340 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. Obviously, it is a boosted engine. It is a turbocharged engine. It's going to not only be their first inline-6, but it's also Mazda's most powerful engine they've ever made. They have never made an engine from the factory with 340 horsepower before. This is, I think, the inline-6 is where we're really starting to see Mazda has said in the past that they want to start moving more into a luxury segment. They want to start competing with German manufacturers such as BMW and Mercedes and Audi. And obviously BMW loves their inline-6s. They're known for their inline-6 engines, and the horsepower number is right about where BMWs are. So they're right on par there with just a little bit more displacement, 3.3 liter versus BMW sticks to 3 liters. But what's really interesting about this is it is a rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive system. And Mazda says, this is a direct quote from their website, it was developed in unison with a performance-focused vehicle platform. Now that is interesting, because what I hope that means is that we're going to see another sports car from Mazda soon that has this inline-6 engine in it. Now I don't know if that's going to be the next generation Miata. Obviously the Miata has always been a small, lightweight 4-cylinder car, but we're on ND right now. Next generation is obviously going to be NE. E is the favorite letter of electric vehicles all across the world. Who knows if this is going to be a hybrid with this inline-6 engine, if it's going to be a hybrid with an inline-4 still, or if it's just going to be fully electric. I don't know how they do that and keep it as lightweight as a Miata has become expected to be, but it'll be interesting to see. And if not the Miata, what can they throw this six-cylinder engine in? I'm really curious. I'd love to see another sports car from Mazda. Obviously, it's been just the Miata since the RX-8 was discontinued. They haven't done a Mazda Speed 3 since the previous generation. And they used to have a series of V6 engines in the 90s and early 2000s called the K series. They were very small engines. They range from 1.8 to 2.5 liters. They were used in vehicles like the MX-6 and the MX-3. The MX-6 is up in the top left and the MX-3 is down in the bottom right, which never sold very well. Not a lot of people know about these, but you could get them with a V6 engine. Obviously, then they had the V6 and the CX-9 that could get up to 3.7 liters, I believe. But that was discontinued after 2015, and obviously they had a diesel V6 coming in at 4.1 liters that was never sold in the United States. We don't use diesel here very often, so that's no big surprise. So this 3.3 liter engine is pretty big as far as Mazda engines go. And the fact that it's their first inline-6, I'm excited to see what else they do. Maybe they'll make their first V8, but honestly, probably not. So, on the topic of inline-6 sports cars, we have, of course, the Challenger to talk about. The Charger, obviously, has been announced to be coming in 2024. It will not have an engine, much less a V8, right? This thing is going to be fully electric. That pissed a lot of Dodge fans off. So, Dodge saw how the reaction to the new Charger EV was received, and I'm sure they're watching and they saw how the Corvette E-Ray was received, and people love the E-Ray. They're okay with it being a hybrid because it has a naturally aspirated V8. It's cool, it's performance oriented. That's how you do a hybrid right. So I hope they're taking notes, and I do hope that they end up putting this incredible Hurricane engine they've developed in the Challenger. Now, I don't know if we'll actually see this, but the Challenger's nameplate has not been axed yet, right? Normally when a manufacturer gets rid of a nameplate, they do some big final send-off going away. They haven't done that. The send-off models that Dodge have done have really been for the V8s, because they're both for the Challenger and the Charger, and they haven't announced anything about the Challenger yet. They've been very quiet, so I'm really hoping we do get to see the Hurricane Inline-6 in the next generation of Dodge performance car, because they've already announced that the V8 is gone. This is the next best thing we're going to get. They have a series of Hurricane engines now, so the next gen drag pack they've said is going to have over 1,000 horsepower, and I think having it in the Challenger would be an incredible idea, and even potentially making that an all-wheel drive hybrid to compete in the new age muscle / pony segment might not be a bad idea, and I think it could be potentially pretty cool. Especially since the 2024 Mustang, was confirmed to have a V8, and there are rumors still that they might put the Megazilla. I don't think that's going to happen anymore, but there were rumors that it might happen. But in December, they came out and said it's just going to be a crate engine, so probably not. But the Mustang does have a naturally aspirated V8 still. It's not a hybrid, and it's not electric yet. So Dodge lost, I think, a lot of their market share when they said that the Charger's going full EV, and they haven't announced a gas-powered sports car again. But Ford came out and said we're going to have the V8 Mustang, which was very well received. So I think if Dodge is taking notes, if Stellantis is paying attention, they need to use this Hurricane engine they've developed that can have over 500 horsepower from the factory and put that in a sports car. And then I want to end this off with just something I found very funny. This, I'm sure some of you have seen, was a Bugatti Veyron limo that was recently sold at the Kissimmee Mecum auction. So this thing was actually featured in a Pitbull music video, and it sold for $72,000. Now you might be asking, why so low if this is a real Bugatti? Well, it's not. A lot of the parts that are in it come from Ford. It's a 4.6 liter V8 with a lot of Lincoln parts, the interior. I don't really have interior shots here, but the display up front looks like it came straight out of like an 80s Lincoln Town Car or 90s Lincoln Town Car. I think the benches it looked to me like were from Lincoln Town Car limousine. So it's not a real Bugatti. I don't know if the real Bugatti parts up front. I assume not. I imagine someone did a bunch of really creative body work. But obviously, it's kind of ridiculous. I think it's very funny and very cool. And the fact that it sold for $72,000 means that someone with money to blow thought it was funny and bought it. I'm not sure how much it cost to make, but obviously, if it was commissioned for a Pitbull music video, I don't know. If it was just used in the music video, I don't know. But I just thought it was kind of funny that it sold at a Mecum auction. I saw that on the news. I was like, what? There's no way. But yeah, so it's not an actual Bugatti. But if you want to learn more about it, just Google Bugatti limo. It's pretty much the first thing to come up. It's on Mecum's website, and you can go check it out there. So that's all I got for today. This is where we end it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about what I had to say about future content you'd like to see released, and thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe, follow my Instagram at @thecartake, and make sure to check out the blog at thecartake.com. And thanks for watching.